Hey everyone, it's Cam here. Welcome back to today's health coaching video. Today we're going to look into our part 2 to the part 1 that we covered last week. So last week we started going over our social dimension of wellness, how that impacts each person differently. So we covered our support networks, so really reflecting on what kind of people we're surrounding ourselves with and how that affects our day-to-day, as well as our boundaries. So that's the idea of that social wellness isn't about, always needing to be social or taking care of others. It's just about getting what you need socially, whatever that is for you. Like I said, it's gonna be different for every person. And just to reiterate, as we go through our weeks and we're working on improving each area individually, these are all very much intertwined. So you're gonna notice, especially today, we're talking about our social dimension of wellness, but it's very much in tune with our emotional and mental side of things as well. So the more that we improve and work on each one individually, the more balance we're going to have overall and improve our quality of life. So for this part 2, leading into kind of where the last video was going, we're going to start with burnout, right? So following up after boundaries, burnout is something that we definitely want to try to avoid as best as we can, because it is preventable, but oftentimes we can get so caught up with everything that's on our plate that we don't really realize that we're burnt out until we're already there. So it's something that you always need to be mindful of, how much is on your plate and what you're prioritizing, so that we can make sure that we're not doing too much to get to that point. Because overall, avoiding burnout is, we want to make sure that we have the energy for social situations, because if you're exhausted, stressed, or burnt out, you're not going to feel like you're getting the most out of your social situations. You might even feel guilty that you're not able to contribute as much as you would like to at a social event or for someone that you care about who needs help, right? So you need to make sure you're helping yourself before you can actually fill anyone else's cup. So that, what I mentioned last week, is that your time is limited, right? So research shows that, suggests that we can only really maintain 3 to 15 close relationships. So that's where it's important to look at, how many of those relationships, are really making you feel good, which ones are really worth nurturing, and making sure that those stay around, because some of them can be super draining. And if you have, a couple close relationships that are more draining and more harmful, you're not going to have time for the ones that uplift you and make you feel energized and positive and, good on the day-to-day. So burnout's a really important one. It's important to, like I said, just reflect on it. Take out a piece of paper and a pen, or even open up your planner and see, you might have a lot more in there than you really realize, and a lot more on your plate than what you think that you can maintain is actually, burning you out. So pay attention to that. It's preventable, and things can be more spread out rather than crammed into your week. So next up is going to be alone time. So it's important to learn to be comfortable alone. And that can sound, counterintuitive to our social health, right? We're talking about, social, right? Like getting out there and keeping those relationships and keeping up with everyone. But if you're uncomfortable with being alone, you might actually end up spending more time with people who don't make you feel good, right? Because you just don't want to be alone. So you'd rather hang out with people who don't make you feel good rather than spending that time alone. So get comfortable with being alone, and you might find that, you enjoy putting on some good music and tidying your house or doing some dishes or reading a book, taking a bath, doing some yoga, taking yourself out for lunch, whatever it is, going for a walk. Find that comfort in being alone. It can actually help you to build better connections and better relationships. When you have a good relationship with yourself, it's easier to have a stronger connection with other people. So there we have our burnouts, right? Do what you can to prevent those. Get comfortable with being alone and having that alone time. But then next is asking for help, right? So there's enjoying your alone time, but then also if you are at that point where your emotional or mental health is suffering, or you feel like you're at that burnout stage, it's easier to withdraw from people and try to deal with things alone, right? Sometimes it can be even harder to admit that you need help when you're, experiencing times of stress, or just, like I said, when your emotional and mental health is feeling low. But accepting that, accepting the way that we're feeling and being open with our vulnerability can actually help you to build stronger connections as well. And it can also help someone else feel that they can come to you if they're in the same situation as well. So it's important to learn how to lean on the people that are within our support network, because that's why we call it a support network, right? Not just during the good times, but during those hard times as well. So really utilize that. That's what a support network is for. And if you have any questions on maybe what resources might be available to you, if you don't have anyone super close within your support network that you would trust enough to open up to, reach out. That's what we're here for too. We can help you find maybe the right path to take to feel better and really take care of your social health. So burnout, take a look at your schedule. See how much is on there. Sometimes we get so caught up with writing everything in that we don't actually take a step back and really see, like, okay, I have a lot of appointments this week, maybe this can be moved to next week, right? And take that time for yourself rather than cramming a lot of it in there. And make sure that within all of those appointments, some of those are for you, right? So it's your you time. Like, if you're gonna have that many appointments in there, schedule in a time to, sit down and read, schedule in a time to walk. Those are just as important, taking that time for yourself. So getting comfortable with being alone, and then also, if you're at that point of needing help, kind of accepting where you are and being open with your vulnerability to lean on those people that are there to support you and help you out. So that is all we're going to cover today for our social dimension of health. Hope you were able to take something away from it, and stay tuned for next week. We're gonna dive into another dimension and we'll see where it takes us. All right, have a great week. We'll see you next time.